Hey, what's going on, everyone? As I'm bouncing my head over here to my own music that I wrote because I love that piece
I
of.
do it every
I
time.
love that piano
Da-na,
piece.
da.
Have you listened to the whole piece yet? I don't know if
Did you
I've
ever
played
send it
it
to me?
before. I haven't released it
I
officially on
remember
this
you did a
website yet.
live where you played the whole thing out, and I was sitting there after just chilling. It's
Maybe
very
I'll
chill.
maybe I'll let everybody chill out today at the end.
Absolutely.
We'll cut space talk a little short and we'll just do 12 and a half minutes, 13 minutes of listening to a piano solo piece just for the fuck of it. Um,
Absolutely.
because why not? We all need a little bit of joy in our lives. Hey, what's up? What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Banner and Backbone's Palantalk. I'm Nick Perro, joined by my good friend Shane Urich for today's discussion, episode 36.
36.
We've been doing this for a while now. Um,
Yeah.
and almost half it's been over half a year now because we're well past the half year mark on
Feels
show numbers.
part of
uh,
my life. Every Monday there's
it
Palan.
is.
Like it's just part of the experience. You wake up every Monday. There's very few things that I have kept going as I've changed and evolved here. And Palantalk is just, it's in there. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't change. It doesn't do anything.
I'm really thankful that we've kept this going even through some of your changes. I know you could have shelved this discussion because you're doing so much other shit on top of it, and the analytical work that you're doing and the projects that you're building and the tooling that you've created for yourself and use so that you can be an incredible analyst on here and give really good information. Like, you could have shelved this. You barely have the time to do it, and I'm really thankful that you didn't, because I like these discussions. I hope
It's my
our
favorite
friends in the
discussion to
chat
have every
love
week.
these discussions. And we're going to keep having them because they're really important.
Yes,
Because Palantalk is where we like to talk tech and no fascism.
that's right.
Um,
Techno-fascism.
and we've got a lot to talk about again. So today the episode is titled The Blockade because in roughly 32 hours, the ceasefire is set to expire between the US and Iran and Israel and Iran. And that ceasefire has been pushed to its limits anyways. I'm not sure it's been a terribly successful ceasefire.
Yeah,
I think it's you cease, we fire was Israel's
right.
response. And then the Strait of Hormuz became closed, and
It's crazy.
the
Crazy
now
that
we're
happened.
blockading the Strait of Hormuz, and now we're taking oil tankers and seizing Iranian oil tankers.
Great.
And
Excellent.
here we are. And
We
here
are.
we are. No ceasefire. Our vice president, JD fucking Vance, fucked a couch and didn't do anything. He
Ain't
just
that something?
he and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner went to Islamabad and haven't done shit. They haven't done shit. In fact, they're probably going to make it worse in the end.
100%. 100% make it worse.
So,
Jared Kushner like literally grew up with BB visiting his house. Is this really who we want negotiating? Like, I mean, like, I just you can't make this shit up, you know. But
nope.
I will say, there's a lot happening kind of in tandem with the war right now.
Mm-hmm.
And since it is a little bit slowed down, there's been a little bit of opportunity, and I think it's pretty interesting. We're seeing all these warehouses go up across the country. I think that's pretty unreported.
Oh, you mean all those ICE detention concentration camps that are going to live inside warehouses because we just have to we
I
just have to
actually was.
do it.
Have you seen
We do. Apparently that's what we do, is we just make concentration camps in the US now, and we do them in warehouses because why not?
But hey, we've got tariffs, we've got less product, more warehouses. That just empty warehouse plus no product equals concentration camp, according to these people. Which is why my back hurts and I hate the government. You can't see it because it's flipped, but I gotta get you one of these, Nick. This is just like your mantra, dude. It's like, just up here at the standing desk, hanging in there
Mhm.
for everybody. We'll have to find you one and get it out to you. But
Dude, hell yeah.
um,
And
I,
also, yes, Rachel, our friend Rachel
Yes.
in the chat, not Rachel from This Woman Votes, but another friend, Rachel, wanted to mention Evan Fields was fired by Lincoln Square today. And I knew about that because Evan and I are good friends. And we've been talking behind the scenes, and I saw what happened, and he went live about it today too. And it fits in again with all of this shit we're doing and all of the things we're talking about and the consolidation efforts that are going in and in place for quote independent media, which is really just legacy media rebranding itself
Yeah.
on platforms, because that's what it is. It's the same people and they're not giving back. And
Right.
Evan got fired because he called out a piece, and one of the board members at Lincoln Square decided that she didn't like what he had to say because he was calling out contributors at Lincoln Square for not platforming people, for not doing the thing that is promised, for not doing the thing that they were supposed to do, which is grow this community. There's millions of problems with millions of voices, and none of them are getting any of the information or giving any of it back. Yeah, and Evan was paid $200 a week, which I would love to get paid $200 a week right now for the work that I'm doing too.
Yeah, for any, I love any stable is good, but yeah.
And the fact that they profited so much off of the work he was doing and the articles and the things that have been like put out and his promotion of the company and the work that they do, that's pretty bullshit. Like that's fucking slave labor. Like took advantage of the work that he was offering, and that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
And I happily told Evan that he is welcome, and he now is a public contributor on Banner and Backbone.
As he should be.
As he should be. The work that he's doing is incredible. I can't pay him, unfortunately. I can't pay him.
No.
However, he didn't ask for money from me. I'm providing a space, or hopefully a space, that he can continue growing on. He does his own really good work, and everyone should follow Evan. He's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
He puts out really good articles. He talks about the masculinity stuff that we're working on. He's a cultural person who's discussing the happenings and what's going on. But he also contributes to the discussion around veteran issues and public policy. He's a fucking public policy expert. Like he's a local public policy effort person too. Yeah, maybe Blue Amp will pick him up. And if you've noticed my posts from today, they've all been about calling out larger media groups for not doing anything, for not supporting the work that Evan Fields. So I'll drop his link into the chat here for people, so you can all go subscribe to him, because he deserves the subscription and he's awesome. And the work that he's doing is really important. He's put out some really good articles, and he isn't taking shit. He's now able to, and unfortunately, before he wasn't able to call out the things that he needed to all the time because he fell under rules that weren't his own, and that limited his publication. What happened was Evan called out the bullshit of the larger publications are not doing enough to give back to smaller contributors. And one of his recent articles, he listed out, took snapshots and listed out a ton of the major platforms, major people in the platforms, and was like, here are who they subscribe to. Look at how they have 0 paid subscriptions to anyone. And you know what? That's a fucking problem. And it needs to be fixed. And they're supporters of Israel. Yes. Lincoln Square supports Israel in ways that Evan does not. And Evan called that shit out. And he's happy to continue calling that shit out. And I call that shit out. And for those who don't know, I'm Jewish, and I call Israel out all the fucking time because they're committing a genocide. And you know what? Evan's free to say that here. Because
also, Israel is not Jewish people. Israel is
yeah,
like the derivative
Israel is
of
just a
Talmudic
fucking fascist state.
Judaism. That like that it was like the one type of Judaism most Jews reject because it's like pretty fucked. It's like really fucked up. So like if you talk to a normal Jewish person, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, we're all Talmudic Jews. No, they're going to be like, they're fucking crazy and they don't represent us. And that's what happens when a singular government is captured by a religious zealot elite, America. So I mean, like Christian nationalism and Talmudic Judaism are the same thing. It's the same, two peas in a pod.
Abrahamic fascism.
Abrahamic fascism. See, like that's not Judaism, right? That's like saying like, oh, it's the whole argument like, oh, all Christians are Catholics. No, there's plenty of Christians who don't want anything to do with like a organized religion, who have their direct relationship with God and are great people who don't go around forcing their fucking opinions on everyone else, right? Like there's plenty of Catholics that were raised Catholic, but aren't really part of that whole culture anymore, but choose to believe that way. Like that's normal. Like it's like you can't equate a person with an establishment. The establishment defines more so, if you want to look into an establishment, the people who are supporting that establishment are going to be the people you want to be worried about, not the people who would fall under the blanket group that establishment represents, right? Like it's just the whole, like, it's just a stereotype. Like all Jewish people are Israeli. No, like they try and get everyone who's Jewish to do a trip to Israel so they can brainwash you and get you to join the IDF.
They're called birthright trips too.
Birthright trips, right?
It's very fashy sounding. It's your birthright to go to Israel. No, it's fucking not.
No.
If it's my birthright to go to Israel as a Jewish person, it's a Catholic's birthright to go to Israel too, because they have holy sites there. It is Muslims' birthright to go there too, because they have holy sites in Israel as well.
Yeah.
If we wanted to actually solve this problem, we would make Israel a pluralistic state for all of the Abrahamic religions to have a safe place to accept everyone else. Yeah, they would have to accept all the Abrahamic religions, which includes Islam, Judaism, and Christianity, Catholicism and Christianity, all as one, because they're originally the same. Y'all are all descendants of us Jews. So that being said, Zionism, and somebody put it in our chat too, which was really nice to see, and I think it was, Evie, thank you for putting in this chat, is people keep blurring the lines between anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. It is okay to be critical of Israel. It is okay to be critical of the destruction that these ultra-Zionists are causing, and the genocide that these ultra-Zionists are causing, and the wars that they are starting and trying to push and further us into, because just like our dominionists in the US and our Christian nationalists and Abrahamic fascists who are here in the US, they want a holy war. They want to start the Armageddon so that they can have dominion over everyone. I'm anti-Zionist. I am not anti-Semitic. Yep. One, if you're anti-Semitic, first of all, let's get this straight. Semites are people from the Middle East. The Semitic groups include Muslims, include Christians from the Middle East, include Jewish people. So if you are anti-Semitic, or if you are anti-Muslim, you're anti-Semitic. If you hate on the Middle East groups, the religions themselves, I don't care about Judaism as a religion. I think it has a lot of really good practices. I think it has a lot of really good teachings. If you take them as teachings and learn from the mistakes and grow from it. However, you can't also be anti-Muslim if you are pro-Semite. Semites. If you are a pro-Semitic person, you can't be anti-Muslim. That said, you can be anti-Zionist, you can be anti-extremist, you can be anti-nationalist, you can be anti-fascist. You have to make that distinction and be very clear about it. And it's okay to make the distinction and say, I support Jewish folks. I support Judaism as a religion, just like I support Christianity and Catholicism as religions, just like I support Islam as religions. I think they all need a timeout, and I think they all need to sit their asses down and get out of the conversations. That said, I support them as religions. I don't support them as institutions and power. And being anti-Zionist just means I'm anti-genocide. I'm anti-genocide of the Palestinian people. I'm anti-genocide of the Lebanese. I'm anti-genocide of everybody. Because when I grew up and my mom taught me never again, that meant never again for any people. That means we don't genocide people either, because that turns us into the Nazis that we claim to not want to be. And I'm not a Nazi. And so fuck you. Fuck them. Fuck that. And why we're talking about this too is because we got drawn into a goddamn war in Israel, or because of Israel. We got drawn into a war into Iran, and it's going to cause, and it is causing, global ramifications that nobody is willing to stop yet. And like I said, the ceasefire ends in roughly 32 hours.
Yeah.
And our talks in Islamabad are in limbo. We have 3 representatives there, 2 of whom were not sworn in as official diplomats by the Senate or Congress to officially make them diplomatic representatives of the United States. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. They're not true diplomats. They shouldn't be there. They have no authority.
They don't even represent the United States.
They have no congressional authority.
I think, but Kushner doesn't.
Witkoff doesn't represent the United States. He represents Russia. He is paid and owned by Russia. He is a Russian asset.
He is a Russian asset. I'm not going to argue with you, but I mean, like, Kushner literally has no reason to be there. Like, technically speaking, Witkoff, and I'm being technical, I'm being very loose with this, but is he a Russian asset out for his family to just make as much crypto money as possible and help create alternative revenue chains for Russia, so they can continue a unlawful and illegal and pretty much totally unacceptable violation of international law by attempting to annex the entirety of Ukraine, which is going very poorly for them, by the way. That's really what Witkoff is all about. None of them have the ability to negotiate with a militarily within Iran that's basically currently underneath the IRGC's comprehensive iron grip of a leadership. I mean, they're totally out of their freaking depth. They have no idea what they're doing. JD Vance has no idea what he's doing. They literally said they didn't want to negotiate with Witkoff and Kushner, which is why they sent Vance, and then they sent them anyway. And if you look at the timing of the ceasefire, it just so happens, the Bush and the Boxer and a lot of these other, what I'm going to call the second wave, is set to arrive in that window. There's 2 potential outcomes that I'm kind of holding in equal measure right now. And the first is that they both agree to a unilateral extension, the
ceasefire without any other,
or they both or the United States fucking bombs Iran, or Israel bombs Iran, and then it all goes away.
And other areas around it.
Lebanon, I think, is part of it. But the thing I will say is Iran said, hey, don't bomb Lebanon. And then Israel launched Eternal Darkness, killed, last I saw, over 300 something people in like 10 minutes, wounded thousands, bombed funerals for people that they had killed already while bombing, it wasn't a military. They wiped villages that have been around for thousands of years completely off the map, literally bombed them out of existence. And Iran was basically trying to say like, oh, what exactly is, like, don't do that. Don't bomb Hezbollah, right? We're going to fight you. And they kind of didn't. I mean, they really didn't. And one of the things I'm working on, first piece is about how there's a lot of interesting, Pakistan's role is very interesting here, and the Belt and Road, and how what it kind of looks like here is that you actually have a resupply going on right now for Iran from China.
And I'm kind of surprised that we haven't heard much about India in all of this, with Pakistan being such a major player.
Hormuz. I think it's because they don't really have a choice right now because their energy bottleneck. It's going to have big implications for India and what they want to do. And it's very beneficial to Pakistan to hold that leverage over India. Like the current leader of Pakistan is by all means a untouchable dictator. He is the unilateral force of authority across all of Pakistan. And, so the big thing about this, though, is that the infrastructure to already supply Iran with air defense systems, which is what they're surging in, is those man pads and potentially larger air defense systems as well. It is one of those things where my suspicion is Iran didn't do anything about Lebanon and kind of let Hezbollah get hammered because we have to accept that they're both depleted, right? Like there is not a world where both of them are not, at a point where they're doing serious conservation. Now, the difference is Iran has things that it had before that it hasn't used at volume that are very concerning, like their anti-ship ballistic missiles
or their Shahed drones that they have barely used.
Scale, right? Like, they have the capacity to launch 500 at once. They have not done so. Like that doesn't mean they can't. Doesn't mean that like they can't do any of these things. They haven't launched a coordinated, anti-ship ballistic missile salvo. Doesn't mean they can't do it. It means they're choosing not to, right? And so what's interesting about what they're surging in as these air defense systems these are the same systems that have been proven to shoot down the F-15Es, the A-10 Warthogs. These are the shoulder mounted systems. It's not an argument. I mean, like, where is Dude 44? Where are they? I don't know. Still haven't seen them. No idea where they are. Where are special forces? They got out. No idea. Where are they? What I can tell you is that we do know they can shoot our shit down. And now they're getting Chinese stuff, bust in. And let's be very clear here. The assertion that Chinese tech is just all garbage because it's untested is actually really not true anymore. We saw in India, actually Pakistan using Chinese tech, and they shot down Rafale fighters with air defense systems. We have proof that it's quality weaponry that can take down Western weapons platforms. This is not like a situation. So, and the claim was originally, and I've not verified this, but it's worth noting that Iran claimed that the air defenses they shot down were Iranian, a new type of Iranian air defense system, which means that we're bringing in a system that we're going to say medium confidence, moderate confidence here that they have their own novel system. And now they're bringing in a tested Chinese system that's capable of shooting down Rafale Western fighters. It's one of those things where this is, and what are they surging, right? You've got the Bush. They refuse to bring the sailors on the Ford home, which disgusts me. It is absolutely disgusting that they refuse to bring those sailors home. especially after their bunks caught on fire and they lost all their belongings and they're sleeping on the floor, and they still refuse to bring them home. They're not, there's a reason they're doing what they're doing, and both of them are waiting for this second wave. So the reason I say the ceasefire might be extended is because neither of them are ready. Iran needs more weapons from Pakistan, and the United States wants to accumulate more forces so that it feels confident in doing whatever it's going to do next. Don't know what that is. I don't know what they think they're going to do. There's not really a lot of options, particularly if our special forces that we hid in Iran is out of the game. I had been wondering forever why those guys were there. Also, good comment about rations, where they're actually rationing on ships.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Like, executed operation, and they don't even have the logistics to support the operation they're running. Like this is like we talked about.
You lose wars on supply lines.
Correct.
War is won and lost on supply lines. If you don't have supplies and if you don't have maintenance, you're fucked. And guess what we don't have right now? Is a supply line. We don't have supply lines, and we don't have good maintenance. And we can see that. We can see that because the military reflects its leadership in its professionalism and its ability to act with purpose. The military is really good at being a direct reflection of what its leadership looks like. And right now we don't have any. We have absence of leadership. We have fired all of the good leaders who would have been able to execute a proper war if this was one, and not just a Zionist attack to, start a holy war, because that's what they've said it is, and that's what they believe it is, and that's what some of the commanders have been talking about to their soldiers, is this is a holy war. Mm-hmm. The U.S. military is a reflection of its leadership, and its leadership sucks. Its leadership is a drunkard who...
It's been purged.
It's been purged, and the leadership of the military right now is under the direct control of an alcoholic who is an addict. And addicts have one thing in common, is they lie. So they lie about their addictions. And they lie about how they are feeling and who they are and what they're doing, because they're not ready to process any of that trauma or accept and move forward. And Pete Hegseth is a liar. He is a known liar. He is a known abuser, and it reflects in the quality of our military and the quality of the actions. And no, I don't believe in this war. Just like I said, we can separate anti-Zionism from anti-Semitism. We can separate anti-war from pro-troops. I support our troops because so many of them signed up so that they could get ahead in life. They didn't sign up to go to war and die. That's a misnomer. That's a mistake that everyone purposely does so that they can justify killing service members because it's just their job. No, many of those folks go so that they can get a college degree, so that they don't go to jail because their only option was military or crime. Many of those folks get pushed into it. And I support the shit out of them because they're trying to make their lives better. Literally. They are getting education. They are moving forward. They are discussing the future. They are learning. They are becoming more worldly. When you join the military, you do become more worldly. You get shoved into it. It's one of the few institutions where they'll shove a white supremacist and a black dude into the same unit and go fucking figure it out and say, figure it the fuck out. And they do. And normally it opens the eyes of that asshole because they have to figure it out, which is why I support our troops. But I don't support the assholes who are in charge. And they're going to get more of our troops killed here in 32 hours if the ceasefire does break down.
More is like, and I'm even at the point where I feel like frustrated because I feel like they're just lying about how many of our troops we've already lost, right? Like this
Yes.
isn't even a conversation. Like it is a conversation about how many people they will get killed, but it's also a conversation about how many people have they killed, and what are they hiding? What is the real number? What is the number? What is and you know, if the Congress and the Republicans or and whoever the Democrats who are helping them block the war powers resolutions continue to do so, and that comes out, they're complicit in that as well, because the only rational thing to do would be to take this ceasefire as an opportunity to push through a war powers resolution and stop any further bloodshed. This is the only opportunity that we're going to have before massive reignition of conflict. That it's now, right? And instead of pushing that through, they are protecting this, which means they are actively enabling the death of the U.S. troops. Congress is capable of forcing them to release a lot of these records.
Yes.
You know, like they can say, you need to transparently tell us what the casualty situation is. Like there's people in the government, you know, on certain, you know, commissions, boards, group, you know, that their job is to oversight the oversight committee, right? The you know, that's their job, and they've been briefed,
and they're not doing any oversight.
No, there's no oversight, you know. But where are the guys that we rescued? Please tell me. Please tell me. Tell me something. Like, oh, I don't believe they're alive because you can't even show me a fucking picture. You can't even give us a written statement. You can't even show us like them reunited with their family. Like if it was such a victory, you should be parading this guy around. You should have him up on everyone's shoulder saying, we just pulled off the most historic rescue in United States history. You know, like look at all of our guys. They just landed on the tarmac, you know, in Jordan. And look at all these special operators we just got out with this pilot, like successful mission, right? Like if there was success, they would be flaunting it everywhere. Because they're not, we know that it was hardly successful at all. And where are these special operators? Hundreds of them, and we don't have a single confirmation. Where are the planes?
And yes, I understand there's OPSEC, operational security, is a huge deal. With active conflict and things that are going on, you have to be very, very careful about releasing where troops are, what they're doing, how many of them there are. However, when the mission is complete and it's way past the mission has been complete, we can ask those questions. And in fact, it's Congress's job to ask those questions and get answers. And guess what? We're really near that 60-day mark. You know what that 60-day mark is? That 60-day mark is the administration has to prove to the American people why we went there and has to then get authorization to continue. So we have a 60-day window in the US because we decided after 9/11 to create an authoritarian system for our president to seize control of the military for 60 days without any approvals. Seize control and just do whatever the fuck they want during a 60-day window. That's not what that actually means. However, that's been what they use it as. The tool is, if something happened, say a severe threat to the U.S. actually happened, the president could respond immediately without waiting for congressional approval. That said, we need to remove that because Congress is the only body in the U.S. that has authority to approve war, any form, armed conflict, war, whatever you want to call it. Congress owns the right to funding. That is their job, to appropriate funding for the U.S. and create new laws. Job number one, appropriate funding. They're not doing it. And they all need to be gone. They all do. And this is, yes, this is in the context of the war stuff too, is Democrats, hey, Democrats, I don't give a shit what you think about the war right now, how much money APAC is giving you. You better start fucking putting in war powers acts and war powers resolutions to limit what can go on. And you better find a way to get a few Republicans to join you in it. It's your fucking job.
Honest
It's your
question.
job to fucking negotiate with the Republicans. I don't give a shit how fascist they are. Do your goddamn job and try. At least fucking try. And if you're not going to do that, get the fuck out. Also, if you're a pedophile or an assaulter, get the fuck out. If you take money from APAC, get the fuck out. You can resign right fucking now.
They can
You
already.
have to, because if you're not willing to do your job, you need to fucking get out of the way. And I had a comment the other day around this because I talked about Rep. Ro Khanna should go onto the floor and release the names of every single person who has used the sexual assaulters defense fund, because that's what it is. Congress has a slush fund of our money that they use to defend themselves against sexual assault allegations, because they are the assaulters. That's public. That should be public record. And it should be spoken on the House floor of every single member who has ever used that for a credible assault claim. And they should be forced out right now. And someone asks, if we do that, won't that break a quorum? Yes, it would. But you know what breaking quorum in the US would mean? If enough people left Congress right now, we would need to hold snap elections. We would be required under the Constitution to hold snap elections and special elections. If quorum is broken in Congress, we have to elect new people. They cannot stop us, and it happens right away. So you should be pressuring your representatives if they're not doing their job. If there's credible accusations towards them of sexual assault, fucking out that shit. Talk about it. Be loud. And no, I don't give a shit about the safety of folks like Eric Swalwell, because he didn't give a shit about the safety of the woman that he raped and assaulted. He didn't give a shit about her safety. So why should I care about his? Tony Gonzalez, you too. Ruben Gallego, you too. Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, Stephen Miller, all of you assholes, JD Vance, whose wife looks like she's being fucking abused every goddamn day, you all deserve it too. And it's coming. And this war is going to expose it. This war is exposing it.
This is
because there's no way out.
This is it. You know, that's what I was thinking about this the other day. And I said, you know, the one thing this war is going to do is it's going to, there's no amount of lying that can make the price of gas go down $1.50. There's no amount of Fox News that can take.
It was like $2.50 a gallon here in Arkansas, like a couple weeks ago. It's $4 a fucking gallon right now.
Try mine right now, where if I go down the street, it's like $5.90 over $5. Like some of them
diesel is now like almost $6 here. I live in the fucking South, y'all. Like they're trying to make us think prices are still low. $4 a gallon in the South for regular fucking gas is so goddamn expensive. The wages in my area are so suppressed compared to places like California or Washington that $4 a gallon is probably more for a person here than $6 a gallon is per person in California.
That's like what? 50% of half an hour of your work to get a gallon of gas, right? Like that's probably about what you're looking at, because federal minimum is what, 870 something, 875.
It's like $7.25 an hour.
Yeah, perfect. So
I think it's still $7.25. I don't think it's changed since I was a kid. The last time the federal minimum wage changed was when I was in high school. I remember it changing because I got a pay raise for it, because my boss in high school paid me minimum wage, which was fine. I was a high school worker. Like I wasn't complaining. I had a job and I was making money and I could go places and do stuff and I could spend time with my friends. But I was in high school working part-time. Minimum wage is a wage that is supposed to be minimum viable for a single worker to support a household of 4. That's what the minimum wage was supposed to do. It is not a teenager's wage. The minimum wage was intended for people to live off of, to be able to have a minimum standard of living.
It's
And
seven,
that's
eight
never gone
dollars in
up.
California. Yeah, I had to fill up.
All of that money that has been stolen from it and taken out of our minimum wage and our profits as individuals has been put into the profits of companies like Palantir and other tech giants that are fueling this war
Yeah.
so that they can make more money. Because the end goal here is to militarize the industrial industry in the US and the manufacturing industry in the US because they know it makes money and they want to build drones. But guess what? Can't build all the drones when the Strait of Hormuz is closed because that's where a lot of the sulfur comes from. And
Oh
y'all
yeah,
fucking
so
need that.
no one's talking about that, and I was telling
You
folks
brought that up last week or the week before, and I wanted to retouch on that. Like, Shane, talk about that because the Strait of Hormuz is closed, which is 30% of the fertilizer, world's fertilizer comes out of the Strait of Hormuz,
yeah,
and a
not to
huge
mention
percentage of sulfur.
all the plants. And so I was saying forever ago, because the beginning of the year, they come in, they put in controls on silver, a lot of essential metals. This comes after the April controls where they hit antimony and pretty much germanium, all of the essential kind of like tech chips and whatnot. So that's when they started. It was immediate as second he levied tariffs. And then through 2025, by the time we hit the first couple months, then came the silver, steel tariffs, that kind of stuff, doubling down on the antimony. So we haven't been able to produce weapons for probably 7 or 8 months, not at scale. With the sulfur, and what I was saying is that they're going to wait until maximum impact. So they're going to wait until the next control is going to get the most impact. And this is strategic because now they're still trying to figure out basically, well, we just expended all this stuff and we were supposed to force a certain outcome by now. And that outcome was supposed to give us leverage. And that leverage was supposed to give us, what we needed to get out of China, right? Like regardless of if Israel started the war or not, the secondary objective is absolutely how do we leverage this to get control over China? Because we need to figure out how to leverage China. And instead of being the ultimate deterrent and a display of U.S. dominance and power to keep them from wanting to take Taiwan, China is sailing 3 aircraft carriers simultaneously for the first time in world history. This mimics what the United States, that's supposed to be our form of dominance. Instead, they're sailing 3 carriers around Taiwan. This is where you have China in a position to funnel weapons straight into Iran during this ceasefire through a pre-built Belt and Road Initiative infrastructure that has been under, this is just the map that they've built to create a situation where you could oppose the United States and not be destroyed. Iran's hurt, but the message is not that, of course Iran's going to get hurt, but Iran is still Iran. Iran will persist after this. Iran will exist. Iran will have stronger trade relationships with Pakistan and China than it did before. And all this has served to do is demonstrate that the GCC alliance with the United States did not work out in the favor of the Gulf monarchies. They are now economically degraded. They will not be nearly as dominant a force in terms of energy or anything like that. They have repairs to do. And where that sits is, well, China's going to come in as soon as it's over, and they're going to help rebuild Iran, get everything packed up very quickly. They opened a corridor, and that's what I was referring to in this article, where they're actually, the first shipment was on, it was like 2 days before the blockade was announced, frozen meat, right? That's why I called it frozen meat and air defenses, because, the demonstration there is if you can just have a overland pipeline, the blockade is totally irrelevant. Doesn't matter. And so when you give China that leverage and then you look at the actual energy, you look at what they're doing with the sulfur, you're realizing that the United States has lost their ability to project power and even influence the region in any meaningful way. Meanwhile, China is here demonstrating that with limited support from China, just through tangential relationships, you can actually oppose the United States, and China can arm you to resist. And on top of that, when the United States is facing this particular moment, this realization that they're like, oh shit, that's when China drops the silver, when they're asking Congress for $500 billion, $1 trillion more dollars to rebuild air defenses and missiles. And, I don't think the American people get it. I don't think the world gets it. I don't think the think tanks get it yet, that it doesn't matter what they say. It doesn't matter, and none of it matters because they can't build it. Words, a contract to order 500 missiles is not the same as 500 missiles. In fact, 5 missiles is worth more than that contract because you can shoot those missiles right now. 500 missiles and a $500 billion IOU is nothing. What's our sway in Africa? Like net zero.
That's a full conversation on its own.
I'll just give you one sentence. Africa's fucked.
We've been fucking Africa for so long now.
I'm gonna get to the Sahel. I'm gonna get there. It's important we go back because this is all happening in parallel with what's happening in Iran, and what's happening in Iran has massive effects in what's happening in North Africa and across the Sahel for a ton of reasons. And so, particularly there's so many things, you can look at Ukraine and how now Ukraine and what it's been for Ukraine, the Patriot interceptor shortage, how, now Europe is adapting. It all matters. And what I will say is that the last oil tankers, they arrived last week. That was it. So, they take forever. They go something like 12 knots. I mean, it's like they crawl. So it takes months when they leave to actually get where they're going. And so
to build on that from the next question one of the next questions that we just got was, where is Russia in all this? Sitting behind the scenes, preparing Iran, just like China is. Right. Most people a lot of people don't know or forget or just haven't seen it, is Iran is a Chinese surveillance police state. They have integrated a majority of their society into Chinese surveillance tools. China is very embedded into Iran and the future of Iran. And they also see the idea of blockade as a bad thing. They see both what Iran and what we are doing as a bad thing because it's destabilizing their economy too, and it's destabilizing the world's economy. Europe doesn't particularly like the blockade either. There's been very, 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 very little NATO response outside of the US. Spain has closed airspace to US fighters and planes and military usage, which is a huge deal, which means Europe does not want what we're doing. That said, it won't stop truly until there is a unification of the world around against what we're doing. And right now it's so fractured that it's not going to happen. Is China wants this destabilization. They don't want their markets destabilized, but they want the US destabilized. So they're supporting Iran. They're giving them technology. They're in there. They're already there. They're providing the AI tooling and support for drone development. Next, Russia. Russia's feeding Iran information. Russia freely feeds Iran intel. Well, maybe not freely, but Russia feeds Iran intel, especially around what's going on. Our current president feeds Russia intel on what's going on for U.S. service members and troops and movements because he's a fucking idiot. And either he's a willing participant or he's just a unwitting spy and has been used an asset to get all our information. We know that secrets around military technology were stolen. U.S. nuclear submarine technology secrets were stolen by Donald Trump and sold to the highest bidder. Our secrets were sold and stolen Why do you think it's so much easier to attack US service members or hit US technology? Also, the US did the one thing that destroyed our actual power around the world. Our power isn't truly military power anymore. Yes, we have a military might that far surpasses in spending everyone else. Our true power around the world was our soft power, was our diplomatic presence, was USAID, was our ability, was our channels, our propaganda networks that went through the world and spread pro-US propaganda. Do I think we did a good job in all ways? No. We haven't talked about Venezuela in a while. We haven't talked about what the fuck's going on there because Iran has
What the
taken
fuck's
over.
happening in Ecuador? We're
We
bombing
haven't
dairy
talked
farms.
about
I'd
South
write that
America,
shit
and
down. What
that's
the
actually
hell?
kind of the point, I think, is that they use these events so that we aren't talking about what the real threat in our area is, which is the regional or the hemispherication of North and South America into the US. That hasn't gone away. That is part of their goal. Part of the end goal is for the US to consume all of the rest of the Americas. And all of you become part of the US in some way as slave states, basically. Because we're back into empire building. We're really bad at it. We're really bad at empire
This
building.
is not the America that took over the world. This is the America that is still riding on the coattails of the America that took over the world, but doesn't understand. It's like drinking your own Kool-Aid. Like, it's really that simple. Like, they just thought like that money is power and that nobody can stop them. It's like, it just goes to show it's the same thing with Russia. Literally, they didn't learn. Russia said, we've got the tanks, we've got the bombs, we've got all the overwhelming advantage. We're going to take Ukraine. Okay, cool. How well did that go for them? It's not over. It's been it's been over 4 fucking years. I mean, holy shit. Like, is that really like where we're going with this? And the difference is, no, we don't share a border with Iran. No, we have to ship every fucking thing we use in the Middle East to the Middle East. We have to strip assets from other places. They're not just spending $1 billion, $600 million, $1 billion a day on this war. They're spending another, 500 billion getting everything there from all over the world. I mean,
That's
it's
fine.
not even,
Thank
it's
you.
not, it's nonsensical. It's logistically impossible. They are going, they are going to a conflict without the supply lines and the necessary equipment to do it. I mean, are we even thinking about how the Strait of Hormuz is closed and all of our fucking ships run on diesel? Like, what's that mean? What does that mean for operational tempo, operational cost? Does every sortie for jet fuel now, how does that work, right? Because now they're going to have to be rationing that. They can't be conducting nonstop sorties because, like, what country is going to give them all the jet fuel, right? They have to buy that jet fuel from wherever they're stationing the aircraft. And with new rationing, like, that might be, yeah, we actually don't have the supply in this country to sell you all of our fucking jet fuel. So what does that mean? Like, they're creating a situation, they're creating a dynamic where they themselves are not thinking about what happens, 3 steps down the road. They're thinking about what happens right now. And this is what happens when you have Pete Hegseth making calling the shots, because he doesn't think about the actual outcome. And he fires people who tell him that he shouldn't do that because it's not going to work. He doesn't like that. He needs to be the smartest person in the room. He has an ego. He is an alcoholic. He has no sense of self-pride. It's all about putting other people down. Weak men in positions of extreme authority result in this. That's what happens.
So, for Jack, good question in the chat of how are they shipping resupply for foods, meds to troops currently in theater? They do that through various means, either across the ocean. They'll either take it on a naval vessel and do that, or they have to find a safe port of harbor to resupply at, where we would have supplies shipped into. The problem is when our allies close our ports of harbor to us and our safe ports where they can resupply, it makes it a lot harder and much more expensive. And then they have to do more tactical resupply style things, which is they fly supplies onto a ship and drop them off, which can only work for some vessels because not every vessel you can land a ship, like a helicopter on that has supplies, or a vessel that has the needed supplies. So they have to go back to a safe port of harbor for the Navy. The Army and others tend to just send that shit on planes. We use the Air Force to fly that shit over. And resupply is one of the most important things, but often most underutilized. And I don't know how much fuel we have left for those resupply missions. That said,
I have an idea on how that could be ballparked, but I don't know if there's really a realistic way to confirm it. There is ways to ballpark it, right? Because the force posture, who was there when. Shit like that takes a long time to figure out because you have to get all the different elements. I did write it down because that's a good question. So good question. And it's things like that we need to consider, right? Like the interceptor shortage. That's kind of been pushed out of the narrative now, but Iran's not shooting at us, so we're not getting blown up. So they're not talking about it.
Not until tomorrow.
Not until tomorrow. And
so let's talk about that a little bit, because I want to get your thoughts. We've talked a little bit around it of what we think might happen, or a little around what we might think happened, but I want to get your thoughts on what you think might come out of this and what you think is going to be the next steps over the next, say, 32 to 48 hours.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so kind of like I kind of alluded to this, but I kind of have two scenarios, right? I think that either gets extended or something happens. Pete Hegseth is talking about bombing power plants. Their strategy still stands. They're probably going to just try and do air bombing, show force. That would be my guess. We have to consider they do have 2 MEUs, about 7,000 Marines. The question really is,
and the 82nd Airborne.
And the airborne. The question is, how do you use them safely? And there's no good answer to that.
You don't.
So they are kind of there, and it's like, okay, but how do you guarantee you even get that MEU and the landing craft to wherever you want to invade? Okay, say it's Karg Island. Well, tell me exactly what your plan is to do that. So, the other question is, if you actually look at what carriers they have available, they've sent everything. We keep carriers in dry dock. We rotate them. We have 11. They are not always available. They've moved everything that they can move. There is no more. Unless they start stripping like really important postures, like pulling more from Japan, right? Which is what I think they would probably do, is start pulling more from Japan because, they're stupid. And Europe is, not, they're pulling some stuff from Europe, but that's to the Putin point. That's what Putin wants. He wants them to pull from Europe. But
what we'll see in the U.S. Sorry to cut in real quick. What we'll see in the U.S. to answer this question on how do we resupply and fueling is we'll start seeing flights being canceled in the U.S. We'll start seeing actual airlines and airline groups canceling flights, and there will be much less flying in the U.S. because we will shift the jet fuel usage from commercial and from citizen usage and public usage to military usage. That's what we do. We will shift our entire economy into a wartime footing, and you will stop seeing flights. You will stop seeing all sorts of things. Gas prices will continue to rise because they will need fuel. Diesel will be hit hardest in all of that because diesel is one of the largest commodities consumed by the U.S. military. All right. Sorry, Shane.
No, please.
I had to jump in on that one because that was
when you
got it to a good point.
Yeah, and when you know something, it's worth sharing, right? And I think that's good context. It gave me a thought. The way we're going to see that too is they're going to cancel flights domestically, and then we're going to see a surge of tanker flights across from the U.S. So they're going to probably start to have to pull our domestic fuel supplies and then run tanker flights, KC-135 strata tankers, probably through the UK, which is what they've been doing through the UK, off the East Coast to the UK, and then to the Middle East. Or carriers, there's oilers, right? Like usually carrier groups have oilers, things like that. They have resupply. It's not like they don't. The question is, where is the resupply after the resupply? And that's really like where we are, because when I say there's a second wave, there's not really another wave. There's no QRF ready wave, right? So anyone who could have gotten there within a reasonable amount of time is getting there on in about 36 hours. Okay, so when the Bush gets there, they've got new flat top, they've got the Lincoln, they've got the Ford, and they've got the Bush. So that's the force posture that we would be looking at. So the question, and 2 MEUs. So the question then becomes, what do you do with that? What is that? If that's your force posture, that's what you're going to have available to you. The question is, what do you do with that? Because you don't need to know their plan. You just need to know what their options are. And so the problem is I can no longer make judgments based on what I think would be tactically sound, which is a problem, right? Like I would never sneak all of my special operations forces deep into enemy territory without a clean exit. I would never do that. That's stupid as fuck. That's our single most valuable asset, are our special operators. They can go anywhere, do anything. And if they're
good at what they do.
If they're dead in the desert, hundreds of them just got freaking killed in the desert, then we got a fucking bigger problem than just Iran. That's the single biggest historical military defeat in U.S. history. To lose that kind of asset in an enemy country, that's them winning the war. In a certain sense, Iran. And I will say the ceasefire happened merely days after all of this happened. Then the ceasefire occurs, right? So it's like the hypothesis that they went to seize the uranium, they fucked up, things went really bad, and then they had to go and have a ceasefire so they could figure out the fuck they were going to do next. Like the terms, they accepted Iran's terms. They took Iran's plan. It was Iran's terms they agreed to negotiate. That is not how the United States historically works. No. You use our terms. Iran rejected the plan, and they still accepted the ceasefire, right? They're already negotiating from a position of weakness, but they were very confident merely 48 hours ago. So something happened in that window where they said, oh, fuck, we need to wait. We can't be getting bombed while the second wave comes. They agree to a 2-week ceasefire, and then Israel bombs them. So the reason I'm saying all these things, all this context is when we look at this, there's the extension because nobody's ready, right? Because they are all in agreement they're going to go back to war. No one is under any illusions at that table that they are not going to go back to war, because you don't do what they're doing and bring all that shit to the Middle East if you're not going to use it, right? Mm-hmm. Cost, you don't do that to bluff. The Tripoli was the bluff. The Lincoln was the bluff, and the bluff failed. Iran said, we're ready. And they were. So the question,
we're not getting out of this war because they want it.
Who's ready? That's the determination, is who's ready. Has 2 weeks been enough for Iran to get all of the things they need? Israel has, been bombing Lebanon, Hezbollah hitting proxies still, that's still an issue. Do they start firing on Israel first? That's something that's a possible option, right? Because Israel's soft. It's not the United States. They can go and attack Israel first. But who shoots first after the ceasefire? And, what I will say is this is going to be the real war. This is going to be the real war. That was the preamble, folks.
Yeah, this was a prelude.
This is about to be the real war. If you thought that was bad, this is what happens when you assemble an armada, a real armada. An armada with it's 3 aircraft carriers. They're assigned groups 2 MEUs, like over over a dozen destroyers at least, support ships, littoral combat ships, everything. This is the real army that I had been tracking and watching for weeks, and this is the arrival window. This is where it gets real, and they're going into this weaker than they've ever been before. And so, the outcome, what do I think? I guess if I'm going to be is I'm not certain. I don't feel certain. I don't know. Is the outcome going to be quick? Is Iran setting up for what I call, my hypothesis is I call it the Viper strike in my internal, documentation. And it's that Iran is just waiting for the real package, the one it plans on blowing up. And it hasn't blown anything up. We said earlier, they could launch 500 drones if they wanted to. They haven't. There is no carrier group. There is no defensive mechanism that is going to be able to defend against, multiple waves of 500 drones paired with ballistic missiles. That's not defendable for anyone. No military can use what they have and defend against those kind of waves. It's the way it's designed. You go back to freaking the 300. Their phalanx works until enough people die from dudes throwing themselves at the shield wall and breaking through, and eventually it breaks down. Doesn't matter how strong the formation is. Doesn't matter how many years they train with that shield arm to hold the formation. The second that lucky blade gets through, the wall is weaker. And once the wall weakens, and then another blade gets through, and another blade gets through, that's the weakness of the Aegis platform. That's the weakness of the entire U.S. defensive doctrine. Is once if it's designed to be impenetrable, and it suddenly is penetrable, you don't have the doctrines and the protocols and the plans for, we just lost 2 of our Aegis spy radars. Now we have multiple tracks, more tracks. We have ships, we have troops in the water. We're not built for chaos operations, which is what they're about to go into, is chaos.
Well,
that's why
I'll push back just a little on the military is not built for chaos operations. The U.S. Army is founded on chaos.
Would you say this chaos? Would you say they're
no, not this chaos? So the military itself, Chinese general, I believe it was at one time, said the only military they would never want to fight against is the U.S. because they don't know what we're going to do next, because we're the only military in the world that allows its service members to have a say in operations, because we have command structure and we have mission command and everybody knows the mission. And so we are organized chaos as a group. The military itself is organized chaos. That said, they thrive in organized chaos that they create, not chaos that is created by others for them to respond to. And the only way we survive on that type of, or respond to that type of chaos, is we have to have good leadership who understands it, who understands how to move through chaos and create our own kind of chaos, because war is chaos. That's it. War is chaos. A good plan works until the first bullet is fired.
Right. It's no plan survives first contact.
Yeah,
right?
No plan survives first contact, which is a bit of a misnomer, yes, because a lot of plans do actually survive first contact if they're executed properly when you have good leadership. Take our special forces guys. Those folks execute their missions really, really fucking well. Almost every single time. Really well. They're really well trained. They know what they're doing. They know how to control the chaos that they're in, and they know how to create the right kind of chaos. But again, they're only good at that because their leadership is also good at that, at giving them direction and purpose. We don't have that. The direction and purpose for this war. And here's my thought on what I think is going to happen. I think you had a great breakdown of what you think is going to go on and how things are working. I believe that if, and this is an if we do not extend the ceasefire, there are 2 options in my mind. Is they're going to extend the ceasefire and they're going to keep trying to negotiate without any progress. And it's just going to keep hurting the world over and over and over again until somebody finally takes, some other groups around the world, the global community, finally step up and sanction the shit out of the US until we
United
stop
States.
it.
Yeah.
That's how we get out of it. Is the global community needs to sanction the shit out of us. And yeah, it's going to fucking hurt here in the US. We're going to feel the brunt of it. Us, the people. And we need to, because that will shift the populace in the States against what is going on. That is what we need. We need a population shift against this, because the only way we stop it is if enough citizens step up and go, nah, fuck that. And enough service members step up and go, nah, fuck that. I'm a conscientious objector. Guess what, service members? You can be a conscientious objector to a holy war started by another country so that we can gain dominion over the rest of the world. You can be a conscientious objector against that. That's a real easy one to be an objector against. If you're not a Christian nationalist, you should object against this war. If you're not a Zionist, you should object against this war, because our military, the purpose of the U.S. military is to defend and protect the U.S., our shores,
that's the pure
our shores and our citizens.
Opposite.
But it doesn't. What it's doing is weakening and hurting the U.S. And so what I think is going to happen is, if we continue in a ceasefire, let's say we continue in a ceasefire, something is going to happen to cause an incident where we then need to break the ceasefire. The manufactured incident will happen. We saw a woman in LA, I believe, yesterday, an Iranian American citizen, get arrested for arms trafficking. I don't know enough about the story to say if she did it or not, if she was actually trafficking arms or not. But we're going to see more of that. We're going to see more of that. Yeah, who needs to traffic arms in the U.S.? Everybody has fucking guns.
America, dude. If you're saying
you can literally go down to a fucking gas station and get a fucking gun in this country. Like, fuck off. Nobody traffics guns here. We all traffic them. The U.S. traffics guns to everybody else.
Yeah, they could be fucking child trafficking. I don't give a shit about gun trafficking. We have enough legal guns to shoot the people who are fucking gun trafficking.
Yeah,
so
there's going to be something that happens. There's going to be an incident. Because one, we don't have a counterintelligence unit worth a shit in the U.S. because they all got stripped away. We have no counterintelligence in the U.S. They're all doing ICE things. They're all sitting at the southern border or harassing Americans and arresting Americans and shooting Americans and taking our neighbors and taking our friends and taking our family and hurting our friends and families and making them live in fear. I know a guy who lives in fear because his wife is not an American-born citizen, and he's a good friend of mine, and he lives in fear because he's afraid his wife is going to get fucking taken and his kids are going to get taken. And you know what? I can't fucking blame him. Can't blame him.
Can we
lives in fear?
He won't?
I agree. I agree with his fear. So what I think is going to happen is we are either going to extend the ceasefire, and a manufactured event is going to happen so that we can then break the ceasefire, or we're just going to start bombing again. And that's it. We're not going to, even if we extend the ceasefire, the negotiations are not going to progress in any meaningful way, because we're still seizing ships. We're still blockading, which is an act of war, which in a definition of international law on what is an act of war, blockade is right in there. Naval blockades are an act of war. Iran has the right to defend itself because we are the aggressing force. So what's going to happen is we're probably going to commit a bunch of war crimes. Trump has said he wants to blow up, target 3,000 remaining infrastructure sites in Iran. We're talking bridges. We're talking power plants. We're talking roads. We're talking civilian infrastructure, because their loose claim is, well, it could be used to support the Iranian war effort because they can drive tanks over it. Well, guess what, guys? The U.S. interstate was built for tanks and military transportation.
It was.
The U.S. infrastructure our infrastructure for interstate transit was meant to transfer military supplies from one side of the country to the other quickly. So if they want to make that claim and someone then comes and blows up bridges in America, which is a distinct fear, we can't say shit if we had gone in and blow up all of theirs, because this is a tit for tat and it's an eye for an eye, and eventually the world goes blind. If we continue down this eye for an eye path, the world goes blind.
Yeah.
And it is an act of genocide to destroy all civilian infrastructure, to include water processing, sewage processing, electrical. If they target a nuclear power plant and cause a nuclear meltdown, which Israel almost did. Israel hit infrastructure right near a nuclear power plant. We're lucky they didn't have a meltdown. We're lucky that that plant did not destabilize itself. What it's also going to do is what I think is going to happen, assuming we do bomb, again, is every Gulf state is going to get attacked. Every single Gulf state immediately. Every single Gulf state is going to be attacked. If we attack civilian infrastructure in the way that the president or the dickhead in charge and Keg's Breath are trying to do, they will bomb and attack every Gulf ally. And we will then get pushed out of the region. All of our allies will leave us. Correct. All of our Middle Eastern allies will leave us. They'll force us out, because at some point,
US soft power in the Middle East.
Kuwait at some point is going to go, I'm tired of being fucking blown up. We're right next to Iran. We don't like this anymore. Get the fuck out. Saudi Arabia, same thing. It's all going to come to a collapse. Is that a bad thing that we have to leave the Middle East? Financially, probably not, because then maybe we could actually have money in the US and actually spend it on us, but they're not going to do that until we force change. All it's going to do is it's going to cause death. The next steps are death. There is no good outcome from this. Like, there's no positive outcome at this point from this war. We are in a worse position than we were. We are not going to get them to de-escalate their uranium enrichment plans or nuclear drive. We're going to make them want to do more of it. We have hardened civilians against us. And for every one civilian you kill in war, you radicalize 2 people. Mm-hmm. And we bombed 150 girls in a school. We radicalized at least 300 people from that, at minimum.
Yeah, and they're little girls.
300 people.
That's their dads, their mom.
Let's at least triple that.
Yeah,
like we're talking, let's say 1,000 at minimum is what we radicalized from that event.
And those are people that want to go
every single one of those families.
Join. Those people are fucking. They're signing up, right? Like this is their Pearl Harbor, folks. Like, everyone's like, oh, fuck. Anyone who was on the fence is like, well, the U.S. was saying they wanted us to do regime change, but now they're killing our kids. So I guess I'm going to pick the lesser of 2 evils right now, because at least the regime isn't, which is crazy to say because they're like, they were also bombing and slaughtering their own people. But like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And it's like, that's literally where it's at. I think, and the one thing I would add, I think I agree with you, is that do we survive that first response from Iran? Do we survive that barrage that they're setting up? We've given them 2 weeks to set up the response. If we're preparing for a big statement, they're also preparing for a big statement. And the last time we made a statement and they made their first statement, it went very poorly for us. And they blew up all of our fucking bases and billions of dollars of radars and forced us to redistribute a bunch of stuff. So
take it off, dude.
That's the difference, right? Like, that are they even ready for that? Or is Pete so focused on making his D-Day a reality that, he is, and this is, I think, a unique factor, is Pete is very clearly aware of the fact that his legacy depends on the outcome in Iran. That he is either guy who destroyed the United States military, the biggest loser in the history of military in ever on earth, the man who took the modern Roman Empire and marched all of its legions into a fucking kill box and got them neutered. That's his legacy unless he wins. And he's not thinking about what's rational or what's good for the troops. He's thinking about his legacy right now. And that's one of the most dangerous things about all of this is it's all his ego. This is his war. It's his war as much as it's BB's war, but in particular, he knows if he fails, he's the scapegoat. He's going to the Hague. It's him. It's not Trump. It's not Bessent or Nutlick or whoever. It's him.
And it's also, Chris, thanks for making sure that gets put out there too. Pete's legacy is anti-gay, anti-LGBTQ, anti-women, anti-black, anti-minority. That's his legacy. His legacy is white supremacy. His legacy is dominionism. And Pete knows this. And they won't end this war for anyone who is under the delusion that we are going to stop fighting in this region or eventually cease these hostilities. Okay, if we cease these ones, say tomorrow, in a month or two, we're going to be back, because the whole heart of this entire regime is a dominionist ideology that we need to have dominion over the Americas and the world. And to do that, we must start the Armageddon, which has to take place in the Middle East. We must destroy that area to clear the path for the Jewish people to rise to heaven after they get massacred, because the Jewish people have to die for this Armageddon to come true. Because that's part of it all too. They don't care about Israel. They just want the Armageddon. They want dominion over man. They want dominion over the US and the Americas, which is why this war will not stop. And we are in a state of war until we have a new regime in the US that can get us out of it. Because this regime, the only goal they have is dominion. And to get that, we have to go to war. We have to destroy the Middle East. They have to do this because that is their goal. That is what they are driven by. That is Pete's philosophy, is dominionism. Yes, it's also pro-rape. It's pro-pedophilia. It's pro all of the awful, inhuman things. That's his legacy, and he doesn't care. He wants that. He's encouraging that legacy because the entire regime is built on a legacy of dominion and dominionism. And so that's where they're leading us, and that's where we're going to go, and that's what they want. So do not expect, even if this ceasefire is extended, for this world war to end. The regime needs this war. No, I understand. I'm not saying all Israelis want this. I'm saying Israelis need to be dead for dominionism to happen, because they must clear the land of the other people. They cannot have dominion over the world if the Jewish people are still there.
Yeah. Well,
that's what they want. So don't get any delusions that this war is ending soon. Even if it pauses, we're there for a long time. We're there. We may even be there for another 20 fucking years.
We're there for a long time, or we're not there. To be clear, we're either there for a long time or we're decisively defeated. To be clear, and I lean towards decisive defeat because there's no strategic leadership. There's no preservation instinct here. And I will say this. I will say the second that there is a aircraft carrier on fire and there's videos from every single perspective of every single Gulf state in the Strait of Hormuz, or worse, there's videos of sailors in the water and Marines in the water and, you know, multiple drone strikes, then the war is over, because that's when they don't.
Well,
There's someone else
that is when the American people have the choice to unite
correct.
to bring
Correct.
us out of there. Because
You're right.
once a ship is hit, assuming a ship gets hit, once that happens, we have a choice as the American populace to force our representatives and our senators to do two things. We either leave and end it, because we can unite around that. It's easy. I support our troops. I don't want them to die. Get them the fuck out of harm's way.
Done.
The other option is the American people will unite in a way that is decisively xenophobic and nationalistic, which is honestly the more likely option, unfortunately, is that will then drag us into that forever war. And that's what they want, because that makes profit for Palantir. That makes profit for Ubiquity. That makes profit for these companies that profit off of war. That's what they want. They want war profit. They want this because they know they want to be the next Halliburton. They want to make Halliburton and what Dick Cheney did look like a fucking footnote in history about stealing of money and about profiting off of war. They want to make BlackRock look like a fucking footnote too. They want to make groups like that look tiny because they want more. And eventually, when something disastrous does happen, there will be a response in America. And unfortunately, I think the more likely option is that white supremacists and nationalists will scream the loudest and will push us further.
You know,
And it will destabilize us more because it won't unify us in the way that 9/11 did, when people were like, oh, we got attacked. We need to unify. And we did the wrong things when we went to war. We did the wrong things in our response. A lot of us suffer from it. A lot of us still suffer from it.
There's one last thing I think that, you know, as we're talking about this, that I want to point out to people. It's one thing to want a certain outcome. It's another thing to have the economy, the military industrial complex, the resources, the trade leverage to actually have a wartime economy. Those are two separate things. You can want a wartime economy. You can want to go to war and have all these people and draft all your people and make a bunch of machines and fly them all over. You can want that. It's another thing to be able to actually do it. Like both of our hospital ships are in dry dock. So what happens? Where are they gonna take the sailors that are in the water? Are they gonna get them to an airbase and fly them out? Oh wait, they can't, because Iran is also simultaneously bombing all of the fucking bases at the same time this is happening. Oh, what do you do? Like, it's one thing for them to sink a ship and us to feel like we can do something back. It's another thing to see our most powerful elements decisively handled result in a mass casualty event, and for us to be like, yeah, no more of that shit. We don't need that. If we can't win, we can't fucking win. And if you guys can't fucking lead us to victory, we don't want that shit. You want to draft us? Who are you going to draft? You're going to try and fucking draft young people. We're fucking lighting warehouses on fire right now. We're burning shit to the ground. We're not here to fucking be drafted. We're not here for that shit. The old white nationalists, they can sign up, but the people they send to fight, we're not fucking down. It's all narrative. It's all, I don't believe they can do it. I don't believe for a second they can do it. They don't have the resources. They don't have the know-how. They don't have they're already degraded militarily. We don't have fucking, we don't even have two active hospital ships. They're both in dry dock. We're decommissioning our Navy faster than we're replacing it. We are literally going through the Soviet aging military process, except this is the exact same thing. There is no, it's one thing to have everyone say, fuck Iran, we're going there. It's another thing to say, well, what are you going to send them with? Who are you going to, what ship? What plane? What base are they going to go to? You tell me. And if you can do it, that's a discussion. But the thing is that they've burned all their bridges. They've burned their bridges. This is it. This is seriously it. Unless they do a full draft and mobilize, but they can't do this again. It's not possible. It's just not possible. Our Tomahawk reserves are critical. Our Tomahawks, not just our interceptors. The Pentagon is leaky as hell right now, and it's good that it's leaky as hell. But what we're seeing is that we're not ready for another war. This is why China's supplying them with everything right now, because this is it. If they get us to use it all here, Taiwan is a done deal. The Iran war ends in Taiwan. I want to be very clear about this. The Iran war ends in Taiwan. It starts in Hormuz, but it ends in Taiwan. And that is the truth about it. The truth is the cultural element, everything you just said is correct. From a cultural standpoint, absolutely. I agree.
Hey.
From a technical standpoint, from a supply chains perspective, if they're already hungry on the ship, how are they going to feed the next wave? You know? So I think you're right. I think that in their minds, that's the outcome. Like for them, it's like, even if we get blown up, but like they think one step ahead. And it's why they suck, because they think one step ahead. They're incapable of thinking about cause and effect. And that's the net reality is you've got the social aspect dialed in, but like the other thing is like, okay, I don't understand. There's no ground to stand on. You can have aspirations to fly, but if there's no ground for you to launch yourself off of, you're not going anywhere. You need to start somewhere. You need a fucking floor. You know? There's no floor. So
all right. We have reached our 1.5 hour point, dude. We did it today again. I'm gonna shift us over here to our end scene, which is let's promote the shit out of ourselves. Is come support Banner and Backbone. Come help grow the network. Be a free subscriber. Be a paid subscriber. It doesn't matter. Become a subscriber with Banner and Backbone. If you like Palantalk, become a free or paid subscriber. If you like hearing Shane and I talk, there's over 300 of you here on Substack with us. Like, thanks. Thank you all for being here with us. We really appreciate all of you for being here every week, coming back. There's a huge crowd of y'all that come back every week to listen to us. And I cannot thank you enough for the support that you guys provide and the contributions you have made to us and to help grow this platform and sustain this platform. So please come support Banner and Backbone and support the growth of the platform itself so that we can do more of this. We can get better and actually maybe send some money to Shane's way so that he can get paid for the work that he's doing. And so that I can get paid more for the work that I'm doing, which is fine that I'm not doing a lot. I'd rather be out here just talking to you guys, but come help us, come support us so that we can grow. Shane, how about you, my brother? I still got to get your new logo. Because your new one is awesome.
I'm a disaster. It's not.
No, you're good, brother.
I'm a disaster. So, yeah, guys, if you want to come and support me over at the Firebrand Project, I got a pretty cool article series coming out. I got to get the other 3 parts out before they start blowing up each other because it's about the ceasefire. So that's something I'm working on. Got reports, getting ready for kind of the next wave here. So we're in a little bit of a down period because I do suspect things are going to get really.
You're going to be busy as shit over the next couple weeks.
And I did it for like 41 days and it almost killed me. So we're going to do it a little bit smarter this time than slogging my way through it. So we've got, a lot in the pipeline there. And so if you guys want to, support what I'm doing and, make sure I'm ready for the gauntlet that is to come so I can keep you guys up to date with everything. That would be a great way for you to support me, free, paid, as well as you can go to the Buy Me a Coffee as well, which is on my profile. It's a good way to make a direct donation if you're not able to do like a monthly thing, but you want to give a couple bucks. It's a way to help out. So anything you guys can do to support really means a lot. It helps me out, helps me be able to continue to do this work in a time where it's not easy to, pay for everything. And I do appreciate the fact that it means more to me when you guys support me with that money because I understand what sacrifice that is for you. That is not a easy decision to make. So, thank you guys so much for all of your support. And definitely, if you haven't read Frozen Meat and Air Defense, air defenses, you should go and read that article, because it's a trip. It's a trip to see just kind of all the stuff that's going on, and to see all the architecture and the geometry, and how all these things are already kind of in motion. And it gives you a lot. It's going to give you a lot of depth and perspective about how, like, no wonder these guys are getting smoked. Like, they're playing checkers in a room where everyone else is playing 40 chess. Like, that's just the way it is. So it's about putting together all those pieces, and doing that. So come support me in any way you can. As well as Sharon mentioned, Canadians get charged a lot more on Substack if you subscribe through the app. So if you want to support for cheaper, I recommend going online or subscribing there. And there's other options as well. Like, at least in my case, buy me a coffee. They take less of that. So if you wanted to, if you're doing one way or the other, that's an option for you as well. And of course, it always, all those options exist in conjunction. So you can support whatever way works for you, or across multiple ways. But talking about support, we got to talk about Nick here. We got to talk about what Nick does. And it's like every week I say the same thing. Nick is doing the right work at the right time. He's focused on the things that other people tend to let go. He's making sure we stay human in a time when it's really important to stay human. So please go and support Nick's work, and his commitment to making sure that we stay people, and look at people and view people as people, and just setting an example for being a good parent, being a good man, and bettering yourself every day. So go support Nick. He's my favorite guy on Substack. No fluff there. So make sure you guys go and support my friend. He deserves
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. And yeah, come support me here. It's at Sick of This Shit Publications. That's my main home. We do a ton of discussion around chronic illness. I'm a disabled veteran. I live with disabilities. I am a person who has a ton of them. And I've made a community around me of folks who also have disabilities and who want to talk about them and create a space that isn't quite political, but is focused on us. It's for us. It's a community. And I don't focus directly on the politics, because politics are downstream from culture, and we need to fix the culture. And part of that is talking about disabilities, talking about mental health, and talking about masculinity and better humaning. And right now, there's a lot of really bad humaning out there, especially among men. There's really, really bad examples. We had the online rape academy exposed last week. We are discussing folks like Eric Swalwell and Tony Gonzalez and Ruben Gallego and other members of Congress who are now under direct spotlight, and should be, and have folks like TMZ now out there fucking running celebrity style interviews of them, because that's what they want to act like. So that's what they get treated like. And I give a space for men to learn. And I'm also calling out the larger platforms for their lack of support and lack of care towards us. For folks like our friend Evan Fields, who just lost his role at Lincoln Square because he spoke out and had integrity and was calling out the bullshit of corporate groups pulling the ladder up behind them, and the life rafts, and the life vests, and all of the other shit, so that we can't do anything. And he called it out. His latest article is a list of screenshots. Like I said, is fucking incredible. He comes on my Diogenes Club. He's one of my best friends on here. Like, he comes on to we have a men's show every Thursday that he's a big part of. Y'all, we're going to have a show this week. Diogenes Club on Sick of This Shit Publications is going to have a show this week because what happened to Evan. And you know what? We need that. We need those spaces. And the support that you guys provide, not only on the Substack side, because that's my main platform where I get financial contributions from. If you can be
Yeah.
a paid subscriber, that's incredibly great. I do have subscriber discounts in my show notes. So all of our other shows that are on Sick of the Shit publications have coupons for discounts. If you cannot pay the full $5 a month, that's fine. Get one of the discounts. Whatever helps, whatever you can do really does help a lot. This pays my bills and it feeds my family, and it lets me build the cool ass tooling that I'm working on in the background with friends like Courtney, so that we have a web page, 2 web pages, in fact. We have Broadbanner, we have www.broadbanner.com, we have pages.broadbanner.com, because we're working on influencing the AI models, but we're also building a community calendar and network support tool for folks to be able to integrate their shows into and have a community schedule and be able to manage their shows in really simple and easy ways without having to do a bunch of extra shit. You guys help support that. The money you guys provide a lot of it goes directly back into the work that I'm doing so that I can continue to build this and continue to make everything better for all of us. So I appreciate all of you. Please, if you can, become a paid subscriber. If you can't, free subscribers help. Like, share, restack, do all the things. They are really important because they make a difference for us. And then again, I'll go back to it. Is support Banner and Backbone however you can. Support Banner and Backbone. Free, paid, like, share, restack, send these things to your friends. That's really what matters, is to get the message out. So thank you all for an incredible day, for incredible show today. Thanks to all the almost 375 of you that are here with us right now on Substack. Y'all are incredible. We'll be back next week for another Banner and Backbone's Palantalk, because this is Palantalk, where we like tech.
No fascism.
There we go. We're getting it. Have a great one, y'all.
Yeah,
Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye, everybody. Take care.